Welcome back, everyone, to the Her Faith Restored podcast. I'm so happy that you're here, and I'm here with an amazing guest today. Her name is Lissa Figgins. She is wonderful. I am so happy that she's here. I actually had the honor of being on her podcast not so long ago, last year, and she is just a wonderful person. I'm going to let her introduce herself. I think you're going to find so many amazing tips on this podcast on time management, but actually something different. I know we all know it as time management, but that's not what we're going to call it. But for now, let's call it that. and how
Yeah.
time and how your time management can affect your relationship with God. So, Lissa, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your podcast and have this conversation. I was the poster child for busy. I was always doing. I always had a checklist. I always had a calendar. It was always overflowing, and I was never sitting down to stop. I mean, I would do my Jesus time in the morning, right, and check that box because I knew it mattered, and yet my mind was still already distracted by everything I had to do that day. And I just in different seasons of life, like my husband was in the military, he would deploy for up to a year at a time. And I would be running a household, homeschooling kids, running a ministry, running a business with my husband on the other side of the world. And so who has time to slow down and pay attention to those things? And so I just kept running in circles. But I now call myself an untime management strategist. And we'll get into this because I believe that time management is actually not the solution, it's the problem, especially for believers, because it's not what we're called to do, how we're called to respond to our time.
Thank you. Wow, wow. This is really going to get really good. All right. So how did you get into this into your podcast? How did you tell us a little bit about your story? I know you mentioned a little bit about your husband being in the military and being a mom and all that. Tell us a little bit more. What inspired you to start this podcast and this business?
Yeah. So Redeem Her Time was literally born in a pew when I was just doing a lot of searching of like, what is it that was the message God had given me and the journey he had taken me on? And what did I hear women struggling with? And it was around this area of time. And so immediately Ephesians 5:15 through 16 came to mind about redeeming the time. But the backstory is I've always been a time management girl, right? Like I've always had ever since like grade school, and I had the little student planner and I would write my assignments in there. I would even write things on my list I already did just so I could have the satisfaction of checking them off because it feels good to be like, oh, look, like I said, I juggled a lot of roles. I was a teacher and I was teaching back in the day when we legit had like a paper pencil plan book. And so I had to always plan out, what does the week look like? What does the month look like for all my students? The problem was, like I said, I was just always doing. And I was feeling some of the effects, of it. First of all, it was the guilt. I was never really present. I remember like when I had younger kids, my kids are all out of the house now, but I remember like I would get them where they needed to be, whether that was horseback riding or a church activity or school. But it was like I was there in body, but not in mind and spirit, right? Like I would be sitting there going, like, I can't even think about what's in front of me because I'm thinking about what I should have done with the time I had and what I need to do next when I get home. And so I really wasn't the present mom that I wanted to be, but I didn't have time to do anything else because of the situations that I explained earlier. And then I started noticing like I always had this pit in my stomach, like tension across my shoulders and my neck. And then I noticed a ball in my throat. And of course I ignored it at first because I was like, okay, I don't know what that is, but I'm sure it'll go away. It didn't. It actually ended up hanging around for over a year before I finally went to see a specialist who finally, after trying a whole bunch of different things, put a camera down there, sat me down in his office and said, Lissa, there is nothing growing in your throat. There is no ball, but you think there's a ball because you have hystericus globus. And I remember just sitting in his office, like he had this smirk on his face when he said that. And I was like, what is hystericus globus? He said, globus, globe, like a ball. You have a sensation of a ball. And he said, hystericus. And he just looked at me and he started swirling his finger next to his head like, you're crazy. And he thought this would make me feel better. He goes, that's where they get the word hysterectomy from because they thought women were going crazy in that season of life. And I'm like, so you're telling me I'm crazy? And he's like, I am happy to prescribe you a pill. You just have anxiety. And I am not against medication for mental health. I have a lot of people close to me who do take medication for mental health, but I knew in this situation, it was only going to mask the problem and allow me to continue doing what I was doing. And I knew that it really wasn't just about organizing my calendar or my to-do list. God started to show me my busyness was not tied up in all those things. It was really tied up in my heart. My heart was disordered. I was chasing after all of these other things, all the shiny objects, all the squirrels, all the, comparison and doubt and fear, and chasing essentially my not enoughness. My time wasn't enough. I wasn't doing enough. I wasn't enough. It's like this slippery slope, right? And so it was a process for God to like slow me down, like teach me how to unhurry, teach me to like linger in my time with him and not jump into my inbox or my calendar or my to-do list, and really just how to approach time as not a manager of it, but a steward of it.
Wow. Oh my goodness. I just learned something new today too.
The
Whoa.
steward of this. I hope you don't ever get told that, but
Oh
now you
my
know.
goodness. And I can relate in so many ways. Oh my goodness. We can spend a whole day talking about this. Well, thank you for your story. This is going to be great. So, now I hear you say, we hear you say that time management is not the problem, or does not, let's just say, does not fix the problem. I also heard you say that it's not that we don't have time, is that there's something in our heart. There's a disordered heart. Okay, so I want to hear more about that disordered heart. Why isn't it a time issue and it's a disordered heart issue? And also, if you can tie into that, why is time management? Why doesn't time management fix the problem?
Yeah. Well, we're going to try and make this really succinct. I'm going to try and make it really simple for the few minutes that we have today, because I mean, we could go into hours of this conversation, right? Think about this. When you look at your calendar, right? Well, actually, let me step back and ask this question first. I gave away part of my answer. So that's okay. I'm thinking about I was a teacher too. So I'm thinking about how do I teach this, right? If
Yeah,
I want to know what matters most to you, there are two places I can go look. Besides what you tell me, if I want to verify, do you know what those two places I would look? Your
no.
bank account and your calendar,
Oh,
right? We,
yeah,
we invest our time and our money in the things that matter. This is why I could buy a really cute sweater and my husband's like, why did you spend the money on that? And he could buy some tool and I'm like, we don't need that, right? Because our hearts are wanting and desiring different things, right? So we give our time and to what it is that matters to us. The problem is that we're not often paying attention to, wow, I am giving a lot of time to this. For example, the number one place that women are giving time these days is this device.
that's
It
right.
follows us around like an extra appendage. The average person, spends 4.5 hours a day on their phone. If you do the math, that is 70 24-hour periods. That's like essentially the equivalent of like 3 months of your life given to this. So take your 12 months in a year, lop off 3, right? And then we wonder why we don't have time. And most of what we're doing on here, yes, there's some productive stuff that you're doing something for your business or ministry or your kids or your husband or things like that. But guaranteed, most of that is I'm comparing myself to somebody else. I'm not content with the stuff that I have. I want to be numbed from what I'm feeling. Like our heart is chasing after all these things. And I think about the Israelites. And just recently I was talking with some of my clients and we were looking at in Isaiah, and the Lord was saying to them, you are running after all of these other nations, thinking that your strength is going to come from them and from the horses they have and from the power they have and the armies they have and all that stuff. He's like, in quietness and trust is your strength. Like he's telling them, like, return back to me. Stop letting your heart be distracted by all of this stuff and come here. And you know what? I think the enemy's number one tactic, because in John 10:10, Jesus says, I came to give you life. And I don't believe that, life to the full. I don't believe that means a life that's too full. But he goes on to say the enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy. And do you know what I think his number one commodity is? Our time. Because our attention and our affection follow our time. So if he can keep us distracted, right, our heart's going after all these things, guess what? You and I aren't any effective for the kingdom because we're out here chasing squirrels, right? And I think that that's really, the enemy would love to keep us busy and distracted. And so really we have to go, what is my heart desiring? Because I'm going to give my heart to what, and my time to what matters most. So that's the first part, is really recognizing, number one, how am I spending my time? Time is the only resource that we don't pay attention to our balance. I mean, you may not be able to like quote right now exactly how much is in your bank account, but guaranteed you're checking in to make sure that there's, enough in there for what you need. But we're
Mm-hmm.
like throwing time out the window like it's nothing. And then we say time is precious, but we're not acting like it, right?
Mm.
So the way that this all ties in then is that we are told by the world the solution to your time issues and the fact that we all feel like there's never enough time. I'm behind. When I have time, if I had time, if only I had time, all of those are a lack response and actually a fear that there's not going to be enough of something. And so the way this ties in, time management is I'm afraid this is going to get away from me. And so I'm going to to manage literally means to control and to keep contained. So
Mm.
like, I don't want this, not that there's, like we want to let time go wherever, but like it's this like fear of like, I have to keep it like this. And then we're playing this kind of
Mm.
whack-a-mole all day long. This has been my day today. I'm a time coach. I have my day planned, and there were a lot of things that did not go according to plan today. And okay, but I could run around chasing it like I'm trying to catch up all day long, and I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day and still feel like I'm behind.
Wow.
Or I can receive time as this abundant gift. Here's where the faith piece comes in. Like instead of trying to manage it all, which all depends on me, I'm a steward. You're a steward, right? Think about the parable of the talents in Matthew 25. Right? The one guy got the talent. We all feel sorry for him because he only got one. That was 20 years wages. So take what you made in 2024 times 20. That's not like a couple pennies. Like he had a lot. But out of fear, what did he do? He managed it. He contained it. He kept it in the ground so it didn't get away. And then he just handed it back to the master. Like, here's what you gave me. But those other two guys, they got 2 and 5 talents. We don't know exactly what they did with it, but we know the result of it, what I call the return on time invested, the ROTI, because it doubled. Like both of them, like took what would have been entrusted to them by the master, invested it in order to build his kingdom. And what was the master's response? Like, well done, good and faithful servant. So we have to go
Mm.
back to what is the purpose even behind my time in the first place? Am I just here to take up space and pass time and be busy? I don't think that's what God has for us. I think he's given us this really abundant gift of time and said, I'm specifically putting you in this time, in this place to invest this in the places I've called you to be in this season of your life or business or ministry so that you're growing my kingdom and expanding my kingdom until,
Amen.
right, when we don't have to have a clock or a calendar because heaven's going to be like, no planner needed,
That's
right?
right. I can't wait.
Yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
can't wait, but I can't wait. All right. So, oh my goodness, so much goodness in there. I'm like, whoa. And the scriptures you used, I got chills. I'm like, this is amazing. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I talk to the women who are having just kind of a difficult season, right, in their relationship with God for all kinds of different reasons. One of the things that I am a believer in, and I know you are a believer in, is making sure that we stay connected with God, that we are having time with Him every day. I know it doesn't look the same for everybody. Prayer and Bible study is most definitely something really important. And my recommendation for an everyday to one degree or another, right? Um, and I know that even happens to me. I start the day sometimes really tired. I didn't sleep the day before that well. I put my alarm. This happened this week, like maybe one of these days it happened where I had to wake up like 45 minutes later because I went to sleep late and I was like, there's no way I'm getting up at my usual 5:15 a.m. So I just let that go happen and I realized and I did, a little Bible study, quick, super fast, but just to kind of check off the list, I'll be honest. And I just was like, no, you kind of feel bad. You don't want that to happen with your relationship with God. And I certainly have had days where I altogether don't have any time with God and then realize later, why am I in such a bad mood? Why am I reacting this way? Why am I not being Christ-like today? Oh, okay. Well, so, I know you talk about time stewardship. First of all, I want you to talk a little bit more about why that is really the solution and how that can help us in really having a connected, strong relationship with God. And for those who are struggling right now in their faith, how that can even help them to bring them closer to God, having good time stewardship. Can you explain what that is and how that can help us in our walks with God?
Yeah, yeah. Well, the whole idea behind stewardship is it doesn't belong to me. That means I have to have a relationship with the person that is entrusting it into my hands, right? So for
Yeah.
example, if you were to give me some money and say, Lissa, I'm giving you this money, I'm trusting it in your care. I want you to invest it on my behalf so that you can grow this, whatever amount, so I can do whatever you want to do with it. Go on a trip or buy some gifts or give it, to an organization or something like that, right? Like I then am not going to be like, oh, I think I'm going to buy a candy bar. Oh, I think I'm going to buy a cute pair of shoes. Oh, I think I'm going to, kind of put this in a pocket and forget about it. I'm going to have a different intention around what you gave me because I know it's not mine. And I know that there's a bigger purpose beyond just my comfort. Right. And so this is where we partner together with God in our time. My time does not belong to me. I teach that time. God lays 24 hours in front of us every day, like he laid bread in manna in front of the children of Israel. In fact, when Jesus teaches in Matthew 5 about how to pray, give us this day our daily bread, it literally means give us today what we need for today. Right. And our pastor was speaking through the Sermon on the Mount a couple of months ago, and he asked the question, what is your daily bread? And I remember sitting there and thinking, we live in a time in a culture that most people are not waking up in the morning, in our, where we live saying, am I going to have enough bread today? Most of us are saying, how can I not eat so much bread today? Because it's not great for me, right?
That's so true. Mm-hmm.
And so then I thought, what is it that I am dependent on him for every day? My time. Just like the children of Israel and the manna, they couldn't make it themselves. They couldn't save up from yesterday or say, can I just borrow from tomorrow? I promise not to use it all. Like every day they had to wake up and trust that what God had laid in front of them was more than enough for what they needed to do that day. And I believe that's the way we need to approach our time. And so when I see it as this gift that I'm now receiving, not this limited resource I'm chasing, and that my role is not to manage it and keep it contained and controlled, and it's all fear-based and all on me. It's this receiving, I've been entrusted, I'm called to invest this to build his kingdom. Right now, this keeps this connection going because I am thinking about where I'm investing my time throughout my day versus just not paying attention or giving it to things that really don't matter. Right.
Mm.
And so that's the first part, is like looking at like, if I really truly believe it's from God, then why am I running around like I don't have enough? That's what the world does who doesn't know him. Right. But we're not called to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Matthew 6:33, seek me first, and then all these things will be added to you. Like, just look to me. I'm already giving you what you need. Right.
Yeah.
And no matter how much we worry or complain about how much time we got, not one single person gets an extra minute tomorrow. Sorry, not sorry. Do we trust that God knows what we need? And he's not the barely enough God. He's the more than you can ask or imagine kind of God. Like,
amen. Amen.
So that's the first part of it. When it comes to spending time with him, number one, now, if I see my time as a gift from him, for example, if you are, think of like Christmas time, right? And you're receiving this gift from someone, you're not just grabbing the gift and running off. Like, you're going to spend time with that person because that relationship matters, right? And so I think the same thing is true then. If I receive my gift of time, this gift of time from God, I'm going to want to spend time with him, not because I have to, but because I need a lot of wisdom for what to do with this thing you just put in my hands. Yeah. Left to myself, I will waste it. I will squander it. I will, who knows what with it. And again, and I think here's the thing. If I were to tell you right now, I would give you $1 million if you gave me 15 minutes a day for the next 30 days. Guaranteed you could find 15 minutes a day for the next 30 days, right? And look at what is the fruit of our time with the Lord is worth way more than $1 million. We have his presence, we have his peace, we have his wisdom, we have, his guidance, we have his spirit, we have all these things. So it really is more of the value issue of what is my heart chasing after. And so one of the things I teach, so I teach how to have a different perspective on your time. And then I teach actually, what does this look like day to day? And one of the things I teach is each day we have refills and we have pour outs. And for example, if you were to, be drinking out of a glass and it got empty and you wanted more, until you take the time to fill this up, you are not going to drink anymore, nor could you share this with anyone, right? But again, I think especially as believers, we're out pouring out all day long, doing all these things all day long, and then we're running dry. And so we need time in our day. I believe we need a morning refill and an evening refill. That's time when we are just filling up body, mind, spirit. It's not time to produce something or check a list on, check a box or whatever. Like, and even so, like you said, different seasons, that may be 5 minutes because that's the season you're in. But if you're present to the purpose of that time, so I'm not checking social, I'm not thinking about my to-do list, I'm not whatever, like I'm just present to that 5 minutes of that refill time with the Lord, like God will multiply that time, right? And then as seasons change, that may be able to be, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour, like, but again, we can always find time for the things that matter. So really, it's always going to come down to what my heart is treasuring.
That makes so much sense. Wow. I feel like there's like all these quotes you said in there. Like you could totally like brand those quotes. I'm
Like these
like,
isms. Yeah. And here's the number one thing I want people to hear. Because especially if you're in a difficult season right now, it's really easy to feel like everything is getting away from you, right? Including your time. And so I think that like if I could sum my whole message down into one phrase, it is this: you have time. You have time. It's been given to you by God, and he has a purpose behind the time that he gave you. And he has uniquely put you even in a difficult season. I was just reading this morning about Joseph. He was in a really difficult season that was not fair. And it felt like it was a long time. I mean, I heard one time, I can't remember now, like 39 years between when he first had his dream and when he finally saw
indeed.
Like, talk about a long time to wait and wondering, is God working? And yet he named his son Ephraim in the middle of all of that, which literally means fruitful. And he said, I'm naming him Ephraim because God is making me fruitful even in my adversity. Wow. And my word this year is fruitful. So of course, whenever I see that word in scripture, I'm like, ding, 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 right? And I was just like, wow, like talk about trust in the Lord.
Yeah.
No matter what his circumstances were.
Wow. That's so amazing. Thank you for that. Lissa, I know there's women in here who just want to know so much more about you and want to hear more from you. So please tell us, where can we find you?
Yeah, well, if you love listening to this podcast, put Redeem Her Time in your podcast library on any platform, and we can hang out every week in there. So that would be a first place. I did in the past year create a planner. So I was like, I help people think differently about their time, but I need something tangible that's going to help them to actually do something with their time. And to, once they've done the work of changing their perspective and their role. So I pulled out a little teaser for your audience, and it's called the Redeem Her Time Balance Assessment. Because people always ask me, listen, I have all these areas of my life. How do I know what to give time to and whatever? I'm like, let's look at it on paper so you can actually see where are things out of alignment in this season? Where do I need to put some intention and time so that I'm not wheels falling off the bus? And then of course it's going to start affecting everything. So the balance assessment you can find at redeemhertime.com/assessment. And yeah, that's my gift to your audience. There's a coaching video that I attach to that. So that way I walk you through how not to feel guilty when you look at that wheel and see, the gaps that are there, and then how to make those with God decisions about where to invest your time next. And then of course, if you want to go ahead and grab the planner from there, it's a great tool that will take you even further through that.
Wow, so much goodness. So I am excited. I don't think I've tried your assessment yet. I know we've been in touch, but I think I'm going to try it myself. I'm kind of afraid to see the results. I'll be honest. I'm like, oh boy. But you know what? It is absolutely necessary. So thank you so much for that.
The thing. You can't go where you want to go if you don't know where you are.
That's
the first
true.
thing your GPS needs to know is not where you want to go, because that's actually not going to help you get there. It's where are you starting? And it does not define you. It just helps you put a little pin in the map and say, okay, Lord, now where are we going?
Ignorance is not really bliss.
Right.
It may feel that way at first, but it's really bad. All right. Thank you so much, Lissa, for your time. I will have all these details in the show notes. So for you ladies that want to find Lissa, thank you so much for your time, Lissa, and for this amazing conversation, and for the scriptures, the Bible verses, for your tips, for helping us understand that you have something for us for free, and also that you have an amazing planner that you have in case we all want to get a copy of it. So thank you so much for all these things. And then I'm so happy that you joined us. I appreciate you very much.
Well, thank you. I talk about where do we invest our time such that it has a good ROTI, return on time invested. And so I'm just going to say that, yes, taking time to think about your time and the one who gave it to you is always going to be a good roadie. So make sure that you're spending time with him.